We have enough
I
people
actually.
here. Anything you should order? I don't know. You
And
are,
I know,
you are.
like, I don't know, in
Yes.
the morning,
Okay,
all
we got
of a lot of
Thank you.
Good
Good morning.
It's easy to just coming here for a little bit, just a little bit up there, but I probably.
We good to start? Oh, we gotta wait for see if Chris is coming here. I saw West Virginia
I mean, I'm
license plate
around.
out there.
Is,
Oh, I was gonna do something.
Yeah, it's all just,
yeah.
I like to.
come in here, take notes.
He was on, yeah, I think he was on the phone. Chris was in his wandering up and down the street. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Good, and he does not know Chris well enough, he should have started wandering about a minute from now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm really worried.
I'm getting phones going to ping things at 12:30.
Yeah, I saw when I
Oh,
went upstairs.
go see Marie. I think my mom will die today. Go see Marie. Go see Marie today.
Yeah, she's out, does everything.
She got the whole head, huh?
Yeah.
She's great. Here we go. Okay, it's 8:01, we'll start the finance
Good morning. Got 2 words for you.
He's gonna want you fired for this too.
meeting. Roll call, Melissa.
Steve Brunner,
Here.
Ron Sanko,
Here.
Bill James,
Here.
Dave Reeser,
Here.
and Keith Dare.
Here. Why is trash up? Today's not Friday, is it?
It's not. Not
All
yet.
right. Do we have any public comment? Do we have any public comment? No? Okay, hearing none. Moving forward, we'll start with the audit updates.
I have nothing new on the post-retirement benefit audit. They're doing their compliance work and we're in the queue. So I'll let you know as soon as I receive that.
Okay. Cash update, moving right along.
At the end of May, cash and investments totaled $14,190,000. That's an increase of $1.3 million since the end of April and will likely be our high balance for the year. There is one pending grant reimbursement for $7,400 for the bike sharing stations. That would bring our total to $14,197,000. No movement on the interest rates. I did close the ICS account as approved, so those funds have been moved to the general fund.
You closed the ICS accounts where?
The Tompkins ICS account,
The where?
Tompkins.
Got it, thank you.
I
Just
missed
wanna
it.
make sure everybody knows that. You closed the Tompkins account. Okay.
PLGIT balance now is at $13,355,000. Terms remain totaling $4 million. Those terms were purchased to hedge what was predicted as falling interest rates. Rates have not fallen as originally predicted at the end of last year. So the class and the prime accounts are actually earning as much interest as the terms. There is $3.8 million sitting in class, $5.1 million sitting in prime, and a liquid fuels class account has been opened to segregate those funds as required. The first term will be maturing at the beginning of July. That is actually the date of our next meeting. Because interest rates aren't falling, I don't have any recommendation to purchase additional terms. We're earning just as much in interest in the prime account. So we don't need to take action at this time. Our next meeting is actually on July 3rd.
Okay.
Year-to-date interest totals $185,000. Year-to-date interest expense on the note is $11,000. So our net interest position is $173,000. As I said, the prime rates are comparable with all the future terms. There's no drop off in the rates. So there's really nothing to be gained by tying up the funds in the terms unless you feel that you wanna lock in something.
I certainly don't think anything's gonna majorly change in the next 30 days, so. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, during the month of May, there was lots of activity. In addition to the collection of real estate taxes at the end of the discount period, other local taxes totaled $971,000. Advance number 7 was made on the note for $532,000. The first Benetcon reimbursement was received, and I have some more information about that when we talk about the variances. The recycling performance grant for $59,000 was received, and that is actually from 2022. The quarterly franchise fees were received, and that amount we did predict to drop for the current year budget, but it's actually dropping more than anticipated. So I have some more information in the variance section. Recreation registrations during the month of May totaled $47,000. And there was a wellness grant received from the Wyomissing Foundation for $25,000, and that was split evenly between the police and the fire departments to offset the cost of those new programs. Revenues for the month of May totaled $3,783,000, bringing our year-to-date total to $13,890,000. As a positive variance compared to the prior year, for 2 reasons. One, it includes the debt proceeds, and it includes the increased real estate tax rates. It is less than we had budgeted because we have not advanced as much on the loan as we had predicted we would be by this time of the year.
Okay.
On the expense side, payment applications were made for construction, payment to Bolton, the plumbing contractor, the electric contractor, the third payment on the pedestrian bridge and the pool improvements. May is a month that has 3 payrolls, so there was an additional expense in May of $257,000. The annual dispatching fees were paid for $111,000. That would have been $25,000 more, but the Relief Association did pay the fire portion. Expenses totaled $2,893,000, bringing the year-to-date total to $10,582,000. More expense than last year because, of course, it includes the construction expenses. Less than what we had budgeted through May because we're not as far as we had anticipated on the garage. And there's other capital expenditures, equipment purchases that have not occurred yet. So we have some timing differences there.
When you did the budget for May or for payrolls, did you just take the annual payroll budget divided by 12, or did you do the 2 pays, and then 2 months a year have 3 pays?
I did. I budgeted according to the number of pays in each period.
Okay, so the third payroll should have been included in the
It was
budgetary
budgeted,
number.
but it
Okay.
just contributes to the additional
Understood.
expenses.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Net results for the month of May, revenues exceeded expenditures by $889,000. On a year-to-date basis, revenues exceed expenditures by $3.3 million. Again, more than last year. You have the real estate tax increases there. It is also more than what had been budgeted. When that 3.3 is added to the beginning of the year fund balance, the overall fund balance at the end of May is $14,762,000. 2.6 of that is reserved for future commitments, leaving unreserved fund balance of $12,076,000. In addition to the grant that's pending, open permit fees of about $18,000, so that the unreserved fund balance with the pending activity would be $12,101,000. Any question on our net cash or fund balance positions?
Well, you reported revenue from essentially pool registrations and other summer registrations. I think we're considering giving a refund because the pool has not been open as long
Yes, that's on the agenda to discuss.
Okay, so
Yes, the refund has already been issued for the change in the playground program. The
Okay,
re- Reserves for the month of May decreased by 88,000. 10,000 was added to the MS4 reserve. Continue to accumulate fees from bike sharing for future bike route maintenance. A payment was made on the forest stewardship study of 10,000. For construction of the pump station, just engineering fees were paid during the month of May, and payment was made on the pedestrian bridge. So with a decrease of 88,000, reserves are now at 2,686,000. Our current year budget variances, I did make some adjustments for actual information that's become available. I adjusted the cost for the pedestrian bridge. There is still a retainage left to pay there. Once that's been paid, we hope to file for grant reimbursement. So the variance we're seeing includes the revenue that we hope to receive during this calendar year. The truck that was purchased off the hold list was actually originally misidentified as truck 22. It's actually truck 32. The difference there being that it won't be coming from the water fund, it will be coming from the general fund. The actual cost has not changed. I've updated the cost for the forced main break at the Berkshire Boulevard pump station to include one additional outside vendor, as well as an estimate of the overtime that was incurred. There's also been an adjustment made for the pending cost for the Spring Township West Lawn Interceptor. There was a change order approved, I believe, for a change in the size of a pipe for 5,000, so that cost has been adjusted.
Steve, that's officially going to infrastructure, not next Monday, the following Monday, but they needed an answer last week. The pipe size, when the pipe sizes were given to Spring Township and the project was put out to bid, the pipe size was put in wrong. So the change between what was bid and the correct pipe size is a difference of about $5,000. So to keep it moving, it was in my threshold to approve. I approved it, but I still wanted it to go to infrastructure.
doesn't make sense to put just a pipe that doesn't work in there, so makes sense to me.
Variances during the month of May, payment was made to Western Berks for the pipe repair. Fire and Police Committee approved additional gear for firefighters. I've not yet computed the cost of any personnel changes. There's not enough information to do that at this time. The Benecon reimbursement that was received, 9,000 of that reimbursement was actually from the release of the 2022 stop loss reimbursement. 219 of it represents 50% of the surplus from 2023. So the current month variance is 28,000 because we had originally budgeted 200,000. An additional 219,000 should be received in December. So I have listed that as a pending variance. With the Benecon variance in there, our current year variance is now a positive number of 30,000. But of course, that does include revenue from grant reimbursements, and we never can quite count on the timing of those receipts.
Well, thank you for putting that 219,000. Makes me feel a little better when I saw that number. Even though you're done spending over budget, so I say.
You never know the timing of these receipts, but our typical pattern is to get the balance of that in December.
Okay.
So we won't know too well after we've budgeted for 25 if that's.
No, I get it. And that's all based on claims and how do you know? It's a crapshoot. Got it.
Any question on our variances?
So the cable fees are down?
The cable fees are down. We had anticipated a drop, but the fourth quarter of 23 was received in February, and the first quarter was just received the end of May, and they were down about 3,600, lower than we had budgeted. So I did put a negative variance in there for what I anticipate for the year.
So residents are cutting the cable.
They are.
Yes, they are.
So although we predicted a drop, it's more severe than we had anticipated.
Thank you.
Good for the residents. Which is good, worse.
The tax collector reported collections for the month of May of $254,000, bringing the year-to-date total to $5,102,000, and an outstanding balance of $545,000, which represents 9.6% of what was actually collectible, a full percent ahead of where we were last year. Of that 254,000, 17 was just received on Tuesday. 1.2 million was received during May from the April collections. That would have been mail that was postmarked and entitled to the discount, but not processed to the very beginning of May. So that our gross receipts from the tax collector total $1,438,000. When that amount is netted down by discounts and interim and delinquent taxes are added, the gross receipts, the net receipts from real estate tax collections for the month of May is $1,421,000, and the net receipts year-to-date total $5,039,000.
Good.
Other local taxes for the month of May totaled $971,000, which brings the year-to-date total to $2,661,000. It is a negative variance compared to last year and a negative variance compared to the budget. And while real estate transfer tax continues to be sluggish, the bigger concern is in the Wyomissing portion of the mercantile tax. I have more information on that. Real estate transfer tax for the month of May totaled $25,000. Today, the receipt for the May activity is anticipated for $39,000, which will bring our mid-year total to $270,000, $6,000 ahead of last year, but we will need additional commercial activity in order to reach the reduced budget of $600,000. Do you have any updates there, Michelle?
I don't.
Nothing on the horizon? Earned income tax for the month of May totaled $102,000. On Tuesday, the June receipt of the May activity was received for $680,000, bringing our year-to-date total mid-year to $1,680,000, just $2,000 behind last year, but on target to reach our reduced budget of $3,125,000. Mercantile tax for the month of May totaled $795,000, bringing our year-to-date total to $1,247,000, almost $50,000 behind where we were last year. And with the April 15th deadline, the May should have been the majority of what was due to us for the year. So while the Wyomissing portion is behind, the Wilson portion is on target. If you look at Wyomissing, I had anticipated more to have been received from May and was hoping that the low April receipt was just a timing difference. Unless there's more to be processed by PLGIT, I'm concerned that we will not reach the Wyomissing portion of the budget. The information we receive from PLGIT with receipts don't give us enough detail to analyze any kind of trends or what's happening with specific businesses.
Did Wilson send us a thank you note? Was she?
Are all the businesses operational that should be in Wyomissing now, or some that are sort of picking up speed, or are they all over flat?
There's still one or two at the block that haven't come online yet, but 80% of that is open and up for business. Kenya, and I don't know if Primo Hoagies has actually opened yet, but those would have been the two most recent, sorry Steve, those would have been the two most recent to open for business. That's where I would expect to see this number steadily increasing for the rest of the year, hopefully.
Todd, That's off by a pretty big chunk, just in
Yeah.
the 6 in there.
Local services tax during May, 48,000 was received on Tuesday. The June receipt of 100,000 brings our year-to-date total to 290,000, 90,000 ahead of where we were last year, and certainly on target to hit our reduced budget of 580,000. And that's all I have for the month of May. Any question on operations or results?
Anybody have any questions regarding the results? Hearing none, we can move along. Up to review expenditures for the public
Oh, you know
works
what?
garage.
No, we did not get to the expenditures. I stopped too soon after revenues. Silly me. Let's talk about expenditures.
Okay, why?
I got to the end of revenue and stopped. Here we go. On the garage, during May, advance number 7 was made for 532,000, which brings our loan balance to 1,672,000 with 11,000 in interest expense to date. There is a pending payment app to Bolton for 300,000. The Berkey June invoice is likewise pending. In addition to that, engineering and architectural fees have been paid. So this time I'm requesting approval for an additional advance of $315,365.
$356.86.
And 80 cents.
Okay. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to advance on the Tompkins General Obligation Note in the amount of $315,356.80 for expenditures and the review council approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I will abstain due to my employment at Tompkins.
With the general contractor, change order number 7 was approved, bringing our total change orders for that contractor to 135,000, and the total contract to 2,420,000. During May, application number 5 was paid for 469,000. The infrastructure committee approved application number 6 for 300,000, and that is pending council's approval next week. We watch as the change orders accumulate. We budgeted a total of 300,000 for contingencies. So the Bolton contractor, being the largest, is now at 136,000, and we were notified of an additional electrical expense, which I'll get to in just a minute. There is no activity from the accelerated fire protection vendor. Payment was made to the plumbing vendor in the amount of 38,000. Payment was made to the electric contractor in the amount of 11,000. No additional applications have been received from those vendors. But Jim learned earlier this week that for Med Ed to supply power to the building, there's a pending invoice for $26,000. My understanding is there's some poles that need to be sunk and some additional work. Michelle, can you add anything to that?
No, other than it blows my mind, we have power running to the site, but to run it to a new building, it's another $26,000.
Could I ask a question? Of the change orders, is there a fund for change orders that we anticipate?
We did, we anticipated 300,000.
And where are we now?
We have 136 with Bolton and another 26 with Med Ed. So we've used a little over half of it.
And is that consistent with what we thought would happen? There's no surprises coming up or anything?
Well, they're all
Would
surprises.
be a surprise.
Why would it
I
be?
can't anticipate a surprise, so I don't know.
The further along we get, the less likely we'll get more. So,
Good.
just a
I
time.
like that optimism.
Is there anyone we can discuss at Med Ed?
That's not negotiable. I mean, that's no different. Storage World paid $1 million to move, yeah. That's the unfortunate cost of doing business.
What's his name? Get
not, he's not there.
Get him back.
You can call him.
Yeah, that doesn't work. All right,
No significant payments paid on sewer improvements for the month of May. The work has started on the 2024 televising, so payment app should be expected to review probably next month by the infrastructure committee. On the Boulevard pump station, my understanding is work's been paused due to electric supply issues. Expected completion is at the end of August. The Wexcon bid was awarded for the Woodland Road work, but work has not yet started.
and that came in under budget, perfect.
That's not a good thing, because then we spend, say,
No, we're not,
2 or 3 times.
not anymore.
Is that pump station electric and that issue also?
I believe that's PP&L.
I think there was an issue with the generators. It's a little more technical. Jim did explain, but I'm sorry, I can't repeat
I
that.
wouldn't be able to do it either.
On the pedestrian bridge during May, payment was made on application number 3. Application number 4 for $67,000 was approved by the infrastructure committee and is pending council's approval next week. It's my understanding that the bridge is complete and the only thing that remains is a request to release retainage. At that time, we will try to submit for reimbursement.
Okay.
Pool improvements during May, the second part of application number 1 was paid. Application number 2 was paid. The work is complete. The pool is ready to open this Saturday. I understand there's a few closeout issues, and then the final invoice will be submitted for payment.
I'd like to make one comment on the pedestrian bridge. See, the new ballards are in, they look nice. I think it was well done. It's where it should have been before we started talking about it.
No question.
Application number 1's been received on the street work in the amount of $110,000, has been approved by the infrastructure committee and is pending payment with council's approval next week. Application number 2 has been received in the amount of $301,000, and that is pending the infrastructure committee's approval. When these items are paid, the first amounts will come out of the road fund taxes that have been received and are available. The balance will come out of the general fund.
Good.
Total capital expenditures for the month of May, in addition to the construction applications, as I said, payment was made on the forest stewardship study, so that total capital expenditures for the month of May was $703,000, bringing our year-to-date total on budgeted capital projects to $1,968,000. And that does conclude the May update.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions on the expenditure side? Okay, moving on to the pension administration.
Okay. Along with the agenda, statements were distributed, both the GASB 67 and 68 statements. These are for December 31st of 2023. Foster & Foster is the pension actuary, and they produce statements for each of the 3 plans. They combine the 67 and 68 requirements. The most pertinent information can be found on the recap that followed the financial results in the attachment that was sent.
That's for sure.
So at the end of 23, our accrued liability increased by 5% to $35 million. Our net position increased by 12% to $28 million, so that our unfunded liability at the end of December was $6,339,000. That is 81.9% funded. We remain in the level 1 distress. So some improvement based on market conditions, really no action to be taken at this time.
Keeping in mind that we made a decision not to do any excess funding in the budget because the market was low. It's a picture in time. A couple of years ago, we did that, and we got our funding level way back up, almost to the point that it was too high. So when we hear from the public saying, our pension levels are significantly lower than they were before, they don't understand that it's a picture of one day in time, and literally a couple of years ago, by the end of the next month, if you would have taken the picture there, would have been a totally different scenario. So, not saying that we shouldn't do, at some point, discuss in the budget process if we need to add some more money, but as of now, just so we're all on the same page, it's a one picture day in time, and this is something we're going to have to live with for 2 years.
Plus, keeping in mind, they're gonna force you to increase your contribution for next year.
Correct.
The information I recapped is found on page 12 of the financial statements that were distributed. To demonstrate the committee's monitoring of the pension plan, it's been recommended that we actually accept the reports. The Foster and Foster reports cover GASB 67 and 68. There was also reports distributed from Gerard, which covered just the defined contribution portion of each of the plans. So we would need a motion to accept the financial reports issued by Foster and Foster and Gerard.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Also related to pension, since we are in June, if we keep to our funding schedule, the second quarter MMO contribution would be paid by the end of June with no new information. I'm suggesting that we make a payment in the amount of $55,576.75.
Second.
Okay, motion to second to approve the second quarter MMO payment of $55,576.75. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Put that tree away. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda is a discussion on the Tompkins short-term bridge loan for Public Works. Michelle, you just want to quick recoup what we're doing here?
So the state will not accept as match funding any debt that is less than 10 years. So the balance of the Tompkins loan is gonna have to be refinanced when it comes to maturity in April of 2025. We discussed this briefly at last month's meeting, and I don't have any specific updates other than it was left as a reminder we need to continue to talk about this. Phyllis and I are really just looking for direction as to what is the committee and or council want us to consider when talking to financial institutions about refinancing.
So are you gonna try to finance the whole thing, or are you just gonna finance the portion that's gonna remain as long-term debt as opposed to what's gonna be a reimbursement to the state?
I don't think that's my decision, I think that's the committee and council's decision, but to me, it would make sense to refinance the portion.
Yeah, then that.
That's
Right,
not-
just the
Doesn't-
portion.
And I have since found out there is not a penalty if we take out, say, a 10 or 20-year loan, but pay it off after we are reimbursed by the state. There is not a penalty to do that.
That has to be negotiated with the lender. I mean, every lender's gonna be different. Some lenders are gonna have a penalty if you pay it off within
Well,
X
no,
number
I
of
mean,
years.
there's not a penalty from the state. The
Yeah,
question
different as it's
before
funded.
was, can we do that?
But it depends on the lender. They may have a penalty if you pay it off early.
Yes.
They may not wanna do that.
Yes.
But you can always use your reserve dollars. What's the kind of timing gonna be? I know John mentioned earlier on that there may be a timing delay between the reimbursement and completion of the project.
Project should be completed end of this year. I would expect anywhere from 6 to, if not 12 months for reimbursement after the fact, so best case scenario, August, September of 25, worst case early 26.
They don't reimburse until it's finished.
Completely
And
finished,
they reimburse it all at once.
yes.
Well, John had made a comment that he had some experience with Alvernia that,
That was, Alvernia was second party,
right?
that's why, they were not the direct grant recipient.
And assuming you're gonna shop this as opposed to giving it to one institution.
That would make sense to me, but again, not my call to make.
No, I think you need to, shop it out and look across the board, absolutely. No doubt. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that.
Who does PLGIT, so when we invest our money with PLGIT, who does PLGIT lend to? I tried to look at that,
I'm not familiar with that side of it.
but they have to be giving the money to somebody. They have to be, they must, because I was trying to read and it looked like they offer loans, but I don't know what the criterias are. I don't know if we have a contact. at
I
PLGIT,
do
but
have a contact that I can ask.
Might want to ask if they are a lending financial institution, which may allow better financing than some of the local banks.
I think PennVest gets involved.
Yeah, there is Penvest, you can do low rate interest.
I think PennVest would be
I
where
think-
you would borrow.
But I think that's who PLGIT might loan the
could
money
be,
to is
yeah.
Penvest, and then somehow Penvest loans back.
Right.
I know that PLGIT does invest pension funds, and I was asked if we were interested in shopping our pension investment. We've been with Nationwide as long as I've been here.
The state has all this damn money now, they
And
tons of money.
Looks like they could borrow from.
the reason, but it doesn't sound like you can borrow from, it looks like they lend to someone else, and someone else does the lend. It does, I couldn't find where it says you can actually borrow money from them, I can just.
Okay.
When do we think we need to start this process? Because it has to be in place by April 25, correct?
That's when the current one matures, yes.
I think you have to wait till after the election to see what the
I agree.
interest rates are gonna be.
Right,
Interest rates could vary dramatically one way or another after the election.
I agree.
And the process of getting a loan like this is significant, so it's not gonna take till 4 months.
Chris probably has to do 5 different, whatever you call them, resolutions in order to get there.
It's, if we do a bank loans, bond transactions are very complicated, but bank loans are not.
Seven's kids.
Alright, so Phyllis, will you reach your contact, out to your contact
I
at
will
PLGIT,
ask,
see what we
yes.
can find? I don't know that we need to start the process with any of the local banks at this point, but,
And Michelle and I were discussing that our target date should really be December because we can't apply for reimbursement even if we're occupied until we have this debt arrangement.
I agree.
so we need to have the long-term note
In
organized by
end of year,
end of the calendar year 24.
correct.
Alright, well, I think we could discuss that in,
I'd start in the middle of November.
okay, I was gonna say, right at the time of the election, maybe in November.
Worst case, you have to negotiate with Tompkins. I'm sure they'd increase the rate, but they carry it for a couple months if you do it. Just, there's no way they're gonna not carry that.
Level of membership.
Yes.
Okay, so you'll look into PLGIT, we'll start getting our ducks in order mid-October, but start really looking beginning of November for the end of December.
We'll find out what our options are and that information.
Okay?
Including PennVest.
Yes, that's the PLGIT piece, yeah.
It could be connected.
Or it could be 2 separate organizations, too. You might want to check both.
Yeah, we can check both, right?
Check both, yeah.
Can't hurt to look, the more you look at it, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other discussion on the short-term loan, turning into a long-term loan? All right, flood mitigation Act 13 grant application.
You may be aware that in 2023, we asked for $500,000 in funding to line a portion of the Brandywine Lincoln storm drain pipe. We got short funded. It didn't make sense to move forward with doing any of the projects since it's a 50-50 match. So the request is to approve a matching funds commitment letter and adoption of the resolution to reapply, asking for another $451,000.
Okay.
That would
So-
allow us to actually do 2 complete phases.
So we need a motion to that liking.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recommend the council to approve execution of the matching funds commitment letter for the grant application for Brandywine Lincoln project and to approve adoption of resolution 2024-23. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Pool memberships. Oops, sorry.
On the grant, what would be the earliest date when we would actually have funding of a grant like that? Is it 25, 26?
Assuming the CFA actually sticks to their scheduled meetings, that would be announced September or November of this year at the latest.
But there's no 2024 budget impact, is what I'm.
No, I mean, we would then have to bid the project and everything else, so it would be 25.
Thank you, sorry.
No, it's all good. Pool membership per diem reimbursement. So basically the pool was delayed and we're talking about the average cost per day is $3.83. We're not including the days that the pool was not scheduled to be open, correct? Because there's a week with
It was only, so it was supposed to be open 3 days for Memorial Day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, closed for the entire week,
Right, last
And-
weekend.
and then,
So it's 6 days basically.
correct.
6 days. So just out of curiosity, if the pump goes out the first week in August for 5 days, are you gonna reimburse everybody $3.83 for every time the pump doesn't work?
Well, and in the past, they couldn't have staff, they didn't have lifeguards, so they closed in August, and we didn't refund.
And if it rains for, I mean, you have rainy days and it rains for 2 weeks, and the pool's not open, you're gonna reimburse everybody $3.83?
There was no staff available. The pool was ready last weekend, but there was no staff available due to Wyomissing graduation activities.
I think we're gonna spend more money issuing
Agreed.
checks than, I would say if anything, put out a notice, hey, those who want a check, contact us.
Give a free sample.
I mean, this
We
is,
don't have like.
What if you offer them like one free
I like
guest
that.
pass?
Or something like that, yeah.
Just offer them
This
one
is
free guest
crazy.
pass.
I'd offer
Or a sandwich or
I'd offer
Yeah.
them 2 free
Get an
days.
ice cream.
So
Free
the
hot
offer
dogs.
them-
We don't own the
Yeah,
sandwich.
yeah.
Get an
If
ice
we offer
cream.
them one free guest pass, free guest passes, they get the money.
My
It's a
concern
bad
with
precedent.
issuing dozens of checks for $10 is a lot of them aren't gonna get cashed. And then at the end of the time period, I'm gonna have to eschew them to the state, the amount of work
It's a
involved
bad precedent.
in
Admin,
issuing.
nightmare.
Fair point.
The amount of work involved
Multiple
just to issue the
teams.
refunds is actually significant.
Can you tell me how much, what's
How
the
much does it
difference?
cost per, I'm sorry, how much does it cost per day for a guest fee?
$10.
$10. Let's just offer everybody a 1 free day guest pass.
One free guest pass.
How do you administer that?
They have to
Yeah,
ask.
put a
for it.
check box. Steve Brunner, 1, check.
I'll have to
Per
talk.
family.
I'll
One
I
have
need
per
to find
family.
out the logistics.
Yeah,
now.
I'll have to talk to Randy about the logistics of that.
I'm
I
not sure it's
don't
that
think
easy.
it's that complicated, but,
A list of people, and have it there, you check it off.
Yeah.
everything's done electronically
We
now.
need an Excel spreadsheet for that.
Can you
actually,
tell,
it should be easier with being that it's electronic.
can you tell me the difference between the expenses for the pool and what the pool membership income generated?
I can't off the top of my
I can
head.
tell you there's a great big bracket around it.
Yeah, I mean, are we subsidizing it to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars already?
Sure,
Yeah, so,
absolutely.
I'm sorry, I'm not particularly looking for it over $10.
I'm not either.
Okay.
Alright, so we're gonna make, someone needs to make a motion to deny refunding the pool members $3.83 per day.
I'll make that.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Of all the issues that we just talked about, are we opening a Pandora's box with the rain 2 days?
Well, that's why we're not doing it.
That's what we're denying.
We're gonna do it because the start of the pool was delayed because of our contractor. It has nothing to do with monitoring the pool during the course of the year, rain days, none of that crap. if we can do it. So okay, so we have a motion on the table to deny refunding the pool members $3.83 per day.
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We should look into, is everybody okay with a 1 free guest pass?
I can look into that and give you an update for council. Like, if there's an easy way to do it, I can add it as a motion.
Okay, we'll see
To
if
my
we can do
report.
that. Okay. Well done, good thinking. Deputy Fire Chief salary. Motion needed to approve, table approve, or deny establishing the fire chief salaries somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000 per year. I'm assuming this is going through fire and police, correct?
Yes, and, yeah, and then we moved it here, or to personnel.
It went to personnel first, they sent it to fire and
Now it
police.
goes to council after here. I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion to approve, I assume.
Yes.
And a motion to approve, the deputy fire chief salary is $90,000 to $100,000 per year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All is duly noted, it's 8:46.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do for 45 minutes?
Same for
That's 45
Bayonne.
minutes.
Additionally, hearing.
You can't move it up.
No, I get it. I have to leave at 10:30, so, okay.
Yeah, we should be done by then.
Well, I got 45 minutes, I can do work, that's perfect.
Anybody have cards?
Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
meeting adjourned. So,
Anybody have any cards?
I think you get that.
Yeah.
I think he will, so he says that we're gonna do that. He said, "You have to think about it, try to find out." My father-
Yes.
But it's not.
These are your lanyards, so when you go somewhere.
No, no,
public,
Either way,
council-
it's good.
Yeah, sure.
Either way, it's good.
Well, like, I got me as well.
Uh,
It would have been nice if the citizens knew borough council members were there.
What's that?
That makes sense.
To where to,
I already know
to
they're
where
there.
to layer.
There you go.
Tell me how you really feel without telling me how you really feel.
So,
Yeah, but you weren't one, so you're. Yeah, you want me to drive? I can have him bring out Christie's phone.
This is, you didn't have to get up from the table, I was gonna be back.
Right,
The
so that
email that I
before
sent
people
you
go
yesterday.
strong, so I can
for
get
the
it.
Are you okay with me sending that? Because she's stalking me.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well, then I'll draft that. Because Darren's coming.
The client doesn't want to look for.
yeah, George is probably.
To see if we can.
Come.
As far as the-
Boy, the fire trucks were all over the place last night.
Yeah.
That's.
Here,
And,
Good to see you.
Dan.
your power wasn't out.
I
Yeah,
hung up on her Tuesday.
We were gonna go to
Because
section from.
I started the conversation by saying, I have 5 minutes, if it's gonna take longer than 5 minutes, we need to schedule a time to talk.
We went out, came back on like a minute later, and then was out. for
Actually, she
45
wants
minutes.
the borough to pay.
And,
She wants to be the
all of a
person
sudden this
that
thing
coordinates
said,
it.
well,
I'm like, have you heard of conflict?
everybody had, everybody's CO2 alarm gone off.
I have a big picture.
Because the power went out, so they didn't put their batteries in, the backup batteries.
I need
So
details,
they
then go
went
into
to
creating that big picture.
5 or 6 different places.
So.
And one person felt like
The
that.
hearing this morning,
Okay.
we
Take
don't
care.
do this often.
See you guys.
No, but hold on one second,
I forget,
Tonight, we're going fish pond.
I know, it was just funny.
Well, he didn't, I'm taking Darren for work, and he just turned 21.
Oh.
So I'm taking him for his first
is,
week.
is that camera still on?
So he never was there before.
Excuse
I'm
me?
glad they don't run.
I saw him
Is that
yesterday.
camera still on?
He, said
This
he
meeting's
feels like
adjourned.
he-
Sorry.
Yeah, he was-